you had artists that truly were trying to put out hits and do good things, but then you had the artists that were like, dang, I got a tour next year, I just got to drop something.
I just got to drop something.
And so it'd be like, okay, if you did that today, you would hurt yourself.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need the help. Oh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need the help. Oh,
that's right.
I don't need nothing else.
That's right.
Kingstream Entertainment.
It was, I mean, remember Dropbox came out, that was the savior. Like, you couldn't even transfer files. Like, so going from that to streaming, like was
we all took a hit and we was all feeling it.
We had just figured out.
We just figured out how to sell digital downloads.
Yeah, like we just had 10,000 first week with Empire. Like that was the last time that was gonna happen for us. And we just like Cannon was at 5,000. Like an album. We had Daraj and Coop that we dropped in. They did 2,500. And for us, we were catching up. We were figuring it out. And then and streaming. The tools weren't there yet. The confidence wasn't there. No one was paying attention to Spotify really yet. Nobody was talking about that. And Apple hadn't dropped their music. But I knew before Reflection came out that Apple was dropping the Apple Music. I had to sign a waiver statement. And I knew about it about 6 months before. And we tried to beat the drop. But we came in just behind it. We were on E1. And Reflection sold 5,000 versus 10,000 because streaming started. And if you remember, Apple Music was automatically directing you to Apple Music. Remember, we had that's when the
that was the worst because you click a link and they go to Apple Music. I'm like, no, this is just send people to pre-order the iTunes version.
And fans didn't want to buy Apple Music. They were like, "What? We can't buy the record." Yeah. So it was rough, man.
So then streaming hits, right? Streaming hits. Yeah. Streaming has now officially taken over. Yeah. And what's happening is it's more about the replay value of a record. It's less about can I finesse 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, or finesse is the wrong word. Can I persuade? Can I market 10,000 people to buy the record first week? Get that first big old check that out the gate. But can I get my 100,000 listeners, which all of our listeners went up. All of our like, I don't consider myself a big artist, but I got 10,000 followers on Spotify alone. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good number,
And so, and I've never sold 10,000 records first week, but I could drop a song and do 10,000 streams first day because I got those numbers there, right? So everybody's listeners grew. Everybody's followers grew, right? Which was great. But now what's happening is the some artists who could drop a record and sell 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, but the record was kind of a dud and it was a heist, couldn't do that and transition to making replayable music because now it's not about selling 10,000 or 20,000. Now it's about can you get your 20,000 people to listen to this song 500 times.
I think the time the era of there was an era like where artists would make classic records, right? And you had filler tracks, which isn't really a thing now. You can't. I mean, filler tracks means you would just be throwing money away. So you had records that would have some fillers. You would have your hits. And I think you had artists that truly were trying to put out hits and do good things. But then you had the artists that were like, dang, I got a tour next year. I just got to drop something.
I just got to drop something.
And so it'd be like, okay, if you did that today, you would hurt yourself. Like it would be, and these
if you drop a whack record today,
if you drop
like
10,
your fans
12,
will turn on you quick.
Yeah, they'll just move on. Like they don't have to listen to you. They're getting served. Like back in the day, a fan would never get told you should buy this.
Yeah.
Now, every single time people open Spotify, Apple, whatever, there's a pre-packaged playlist waiting for your fan all week long saying, listen to this. And in that list is usually you first and another 15 people. So if you ain't coming with it, they're going to the next song and discovering somebody else. So, like, it's a good tool and a bad tool at the same time because if you're not really thinking through how to make a hit or a song that's replayable, I wouldn't even say a hit, just something that people can relate to.
Yeah. Something that they can relate to, that they can lift to, because they say those lifting workout playlists have the least skip rates, which is what they're looking at now. Something they can ride to, something they
gaming.
You know what I mean? Yeah, game to, something they can dance to. And so I think it's kind of leveled the playing field in a way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Like, and you got many. So the variables have like gone up 1,000 times. So you had it was two variables, Apple Music and radio. And everything else was bonus. You got your Amazon money, your Google money, your whatever, and that would be like another, like Amazon was second at the time. You get like another $4 or $5 grand from Amazon if you had a big week. But now what's happening is you've got Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Google, Amazon, Tidal, YouTube, Vivo, like the list goes on. Places your music can make it. We've had songs. Derek's Of Course single popped off on Pandora crazy before it really took off on Spotify.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
And you would never know because guess what? You can't go on Pandora and look at it and go, Derek has a bazillion monthly listeners. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because we're all focused on Spotify.
Yeah. Well, Spotify was genius in that they released those vanity metrics.
They did.
They released the follower count, They released your like. Imagine if
I'm still in
iTunes
that. Vanity records, yeah.
Metrics, yeah.
Metrics,
Imagine
yeah.
if iTunes back in the day, you go on an album and it'd say this album sold this many.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is many singles.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
straight took that and put that
Yeah.
everywhere. And I think it was genius because it almost created this, pissing match of like
Yeah,
who
and
got
it used
the
to be
best
followers.
numbers.
It used to say followers there. They took that off and put that in about and put your monthly because that makes you want to work to get those numbers up. And
And it's a nicer flex.
it's definitely a nicer flex, except for if you don't So there's the way the artist sees it, and there's the way the labels see it.
Right.
And the ones with the money are the labels. So the labels look at it and go. I'll never forget. We were at Empire. We were talking to Nima.
And hold on, so just explain to people who Empire is, because some people may not know who Empire is.
Yeah.
Because they're very important.
Yeah.
They're very important to the indie scene. They're important to major artists downstreaming. Like Empire is a big deal. You know what I mean? So explain who Empire is.
So Empire is our distribution company. They're like so most people know in the artist world about Sony Red. So Sony Red was at one time like, not saying they're not dope now, they were just like super popping. Empire is like that.
Yeah. Who are some of the bigger artists they represent that people may know?
I couldn't even tell you. They got,
XXXTentacion, they did Joe
they had
Budden's
their-
catalog. They downstream.
Iggy Azalea. They've got, I believe they have I thought they had Gunna.
Everything that's not like major label, and
Yeah,
even
PNB
some
Rock,
major
they had
label
him.
stuff gets downstreamed
Yeah.
through Empire,
Through
which is a
Empire.
whole nother mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Cluster.
Empire. Like I don't have a lot of time to keep up with their roster, but they've got a lot.
Yeah.
They've got a lot. I mean, we're a blip on the screen.
So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were talking about
Yeah.
Empire, and it was a
Yeah. So so Derek and I went there last year just to like talk next moves and actually when we were there, Extension's mom and them were there because they were getting ready to drop.
Oh, what a trip!
Yeah, their next record, and it happened last minute, so our meeting was planned, but we had to kind of share the time with them. And of course, that was a huge big deal because he had all the extra songs that were sitting there, so they were all working through that. But anyways, we were just talking to Nima about like artists we like and who we think, and Nima said, name some artists off, and we did. And he was looking, and he was like, yeah, his stuff's kind of going down. He's okay. And then I was like, what do you look at? He's like, man, look, I know that monthly listeners is everything to everybody. He said, but listen, he pulled up one of their artists and said, look, he's got 2 million monthly listeners, but he's only got 5,000 followers. Everything is playlist based. If we pull him off those playlists, he's done. He said, Derek is...
And that's what everybody's coveting. Everybody wants to get on a
Right.
playlist. Everybody wants to... Because the playlist is
But what
essentially like
happens-
the new radio, basically.
Right. The thought process to the artist is, oh, if I get on a playlist, it'll change my life. And no. Yeah, you'll get a check. That part will change.
But that don't necessarily translate to touring. That don't necessarily translate to merch. That don't necessarily translate to any
consistency.
of the other revenue streams.
Or consistency. Like, are you always going to get that many spins on a song? Are you always going to be on that playlist?
Right.
And is that curator always going to be around to support you? That's too many variables.
Yeah, and them curators come and go.
All
You know
the
what I'm saying?
time.
We've known personal ones that were there, and they were the guy, and if you were good with that guy, you can get him a record whenever, and then the guy wasn't the guy because he got fired or he moved on.
Yeah, or the
You know what I
guy
mean?
comes in behind him and he don't even care. Or she. Every single curator that I knew last year, I think except for one, is gone. Now it's all new curators. They switch off every couple of years. They get promoted. They move around. Companies change structure. So, yeah. So he looked at Derek's numbers, and he said Derek's numbers are really strong because he's got, at the time he had 75,000 followers. Now he's almost to 90. But he's like, he's got 75,000 and he's got 300,000 monthly listeners. That's solid. That's real numbers. And so that's what they look at. That's equitable. It's not equitable if you're on a playlist and if I pull you off that list, you're not going to
It's a
sell.
wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
they have to make it look like it if they're going to put money into you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So,
That's good. So my question to you, and a question to there's a lot of indie artists watching this, emerging artists. guys just starting out, they're trying to figure out, and everybody keeps asking me the same thing, like, how do you do products? How do you do popping on Spotify? You know, like, what advice do you have, which I think is going to be more common sense, you know what I'm saying, that people think, but what advice do you have for the newer artists and how they can be successful in this new climate where you can't just put out a mediocre record? You have to consistently go and make great music. You have to make replayable music. What advice do you have?
So
I've been up for a minute, now I'm down for it. I've been good with the team, never bad for it. I'ma work for the winner, never slack for it. And I live for the king, I got a crown for it. I know the way, ayy, know the way. He really is the way, he the way, ayy. You can follow me, ayy. I know the way, ayy. Never been afraid, cause we know the way, ayy. Ayy. Ain't no shame in the way. See me smiling, I don't hide the pain in my face. Oh no, no. Give my all, I'm raising the stakes. People try to beat you, but we ain't in a race.